everybody, we'll call the April 9th Board of Education meeting to order at 7:05 on April 9th. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call?
Sorry, I'm not paying attention. Elizabeth Whitney.
Jonathan Morhart.
Renee Waldron.
Jeanette Broder.
Nora Mukarski?
Melanie Brady Shanley.
Shane Centrella.
Allison Pierce.
Okay, everybody, just so as a reminder, make sure you speak into the microphone as what you just did. Comments from the chairperson. I just want to welcome Allison to the first meeting formally. She's been with us at the committee meeting, but welcome to your very first Board of Ed meeting.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to serve on the board and look forward to working with everyone.
A couple other things. We know that our community celebrated the eclipse yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a chance to get out there and visit with your 3 minutes. I know the students did and had a great time, and they were buzzing with excitement. Hopefully future scientists will be popped out of that piece of it all. I just wanted to remind everybody that April 26th is Finding Nemo. Hope to see you in the audience for that show. And one other thing I'd like to talk about very briefly is part of that engendering participation of the family in the community is attendance. I think that's a very important thing where we make sure our little ones are at school as much as possible. And it's been a target of ours, a growth area of ours, and an area where we've been targeting as a community to make sure our kids are there at school. It's a very important piece of it in our society. I have a colleague who says you can't teach an empty chair, so we want to make sure all the students make it there. With that said, I think what we'll do is we'll get started with our meeting minutes today, or our meeting today. Right now we have public comments. So, according to policy 1120, the Winchester Board of Ed welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 opportunities set aside to hear comments from the public. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Education. We appreciate your adherence to the following. Complete the requested information on the sign-on sheet here. If you wish to speak, your name, your address, and your email. State your name and address when called on to speak. You'll be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that this is not the practice of the Board of Ed to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Does anybody wish to speak? Does anybody wish to speak? Does anyone wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7. The consent agenda is discussion and possible actions on the minutes of the Board of Ed meeting March 12th. Do I have? My bad. Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Item 4, agenda review and possible action to our own agenda. Okay. So everybody, I'd like to make a motion to push back policy number 4, 9, and 10 on our agenda today, which is all relevant to budget procedures. I'd like to push those 3, purchasing. Item 4 was budget procedures and line item transfers. 9 was purchasing, and 10 is student activities funds, to give Nancy O'Day Wyrick further chance to look at those and review those before we go further on those.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I'd like to make the motion to do that. That's Nora. Jeanette is second. Any comments? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. 7-0, Barb. Thank you. Okay. Item 7, consent agenda items, possible action, minutes of the Board of Ed meeting from March 12th. Do you have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second that.
Okay, Jeanette and Shane. Let me just quickly look at something. Okay, March 12th. I just had one quick question on page 6. We came out of executive session, then for Teresa Payden was appointed to the Gilbert School Corp. We voted on that, did we not? That was a unanimous vote, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. It just says appointment. Let me see that for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
There were 7 there that night.
I'm 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. It was 8-0 because Allison wasn't with us yet. Okay, so that was a vote, that was 8-0. I'd like to make record of the.
These are all 7 to 0.
Oh, I see. Right. So who was absent? Well, I think we need to go back and, yeah, it was all 7-0, 7-0. I'd like to accept the minutes with the 7-0 vote for Teresa Payden.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting the March 12th minutes? You were not there, so you would abstain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 0, 2. Okay, 7.
So then do we also want to take Jonathan Moorhart off because he wasn't there? Was that the 7?
It says I was absent.
Oh, yeah, it
So
says
it's
that
off
on
right
there.
there.
Yep, on roll call.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Right, okay, that's it. That supports that. Okay, great.
Oh, so when they did misspell my name, not that that matters.
No, we'll fix that, sure.
There's a Y added.
Sorry.
It's okay. I missed that.
SHANE
Yes.
for March 12th. Okay? You all set, Barb?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, we just voted for that, 502. Okay. Item B, minutes of the special meeting, March 14th.
Excuse me, Nora, I just noticed a correction. Page 9, halfway down under question, looks like question 5, answer. It was mine, so that's why I
saw
noticed
that
it.
too. Yeah, I saw that too.
It's 33 million, not 3.3 million.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. All right, that's page 9. Okay, so other comments for the March 14th?
On the next page, it said, it's still Allison's comments. It says, I can commute, I think she meant communicate, I'm guessing, and be transparent about how the system works. It's page 9. I don't think she meant commute, but
Under which question? Under question
3,
3?
under question 3. Her second
I
answer
see,
on page 9.
the second bullet. If you're selected, what do you personally hope to accomplish? Bullet number 2, I could commute and be transparent. Probably communicate. I would think so.
I will concur with that.
Okay,
Problem at all, Barb.
communicate. We have not made a motion on the March 14 notes, but any other changes on the March 14 notes? Okay, so I'll take a motion to accept March 14th with edits.
So moved.
Okay, Jonathan,
I'll second.
Shane, second. All in favor of the March 14 notes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6-0, Barb. And item C, minutes of the committee meeting, March 27. Any changes to that? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to accept the March 27th meeting?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
accept the March 27th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, Shane, Jeanette and Shane, all in favor? 6, opposed, abstain, 1 abstention, 6-0-1, Barb. Okay. All set? Okay. Item 8, Gilbert report from the Board of Ed representative. Representatives. Do you have anything to report?
Anything to report of, I was not at that second meeting, so
Okay.
I don't think I was in attendance. There's nothing in
Okay.
addition to
And I
report.
had missed the last meeting, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item 9, superintendent's report, action items, discussion, possible action. A, superintendent's report.
So for the superintendent's report for the month of April, we've had several Alliance District meetings. Pre-K screenings were held for all new students at Hinsdale. Our PDAC team met with, which is our professional development and evaluation team, met and is in the process of finalizing our updated plan. I met with Rachel and Teresa to prepare for the out-of-state drone competition, which their out-of-state field trip form will be before you tonight. We did a bunch of eclipse planning to address safety and instructional opportunities for students. If you saw our Facebook page, you'll see 5 or 6 cute pictures of our kids outside. It was really, really neat. Barb did a great job bringing them out, and then when they came outside, their little faces, just as soon as they looked up, it was just awesome to watch. We also have been reviewing recommendations for special education caseloads for the 24-25 school year. Our team met and began planning for the 24-25 school year in terms of building and grade level schedules. We actually did that work today. Under building operations, I presented a public budget presentation to the Board of Selectmen. Also, we have refined the budget proposal based upon the town manager, and this has since changed to $300,000. I'll get into more detail about that tonight. Under leadership, I've attended the CAPS Board of Directors meetings, multiple. I conducted several media interviews, specifically with Fox and WFSB regarding the student situation that our town was facing a couple weeks ago. We have had a new board member meeting with Allison coming on board, Nora and I. I've completed the 3,000 series and policies and are currently working on 4,000. CAPS legislative meetings have been held routinely almost weekly. The Board of Ed committee meetings have been held, and then I also met with CAPS Board of Directors. Some important dates coming up. We are very excited that next week is spring break for everybody. I think it's well needed. On the 23rd at 6:30, we have committee meetings scheduled. The 24th is our PTO meeting at Hinsdale. The 26th and 27th, so we have our drama club performance of Finding Nemo. We hold that up at the Gilbert School. And Friday night at 7 is when the first showing is. If you have never been to a drama club performance, you must go. It is the most amazing presentation that our kids put on, and it is semi-professional. It is just absolutely beautiful. You will have reserved seats in the front row, so please come and enjoy the evening. It is a wonderful representation of our students. So that concludes my superintendent's report. Under our monthly student registration and staff vacancy report, I am happy to report right now that we have no vacancies throughout the entire district at this point. For students who are new registration students to the district, we've had 2 new students come into Hinsdale, and they are both going into kindergarten. At Pearson, we had 1 new student come in since the last board meeting, and that student is new to district and in 3rd grade. For withdrawals, we had no withdrawals for the past month at both of the school buildings. Our total enrollment right now is 596 students across the district. I am pleased to report today that our attendance for year-to-date chronic absenteeism, we are down 12% from last school year right now. So I want to applaud our administrators and our social workers and counselors that are working day in and day out to be able to support students being in school and not becoming chronically absent. So we are in a really, really good place right now around that. As for the Gilbert enrollment, we have 423 students currently enrolled at the Gilbert School. On the next page, you can see the grade level breakdown. And before I get into financials, does anybody have any questions on those reports?
It's just nice to see the attendance rate level to what the numbers were prior to COVID. We're starting to move in that direction. I think that's really important. Nationally, it's not necessarily the case. Even in Connecticut, it's not necessarily the case, so it's really great to see that's happening here in Winsted.
Thank you. Would you like me to move on to financials? On page 21 in your packet, you have the overall resource allocation for March of '24. What you can see is town appropriation balance is suggested to be at about $5,200 for June. Our capital town funding line still has $10,000 in it, and that was from non-usage last year. Our grants, you will see, are down a bit right now because of basically special education out-of-district costs. We have had to move around some funds to be able to make sure that we are ending up in the black right now. We are running an extremely tight budget for the rest of the fiscal year. What I've done in preparation for this is Nancy and I have all potential purchases coming to our desk before they even hit our financial system, and we are thoroughly reviewing all financial requests prior to even entering into the financial system. So we are looking right now at making an estimated adjustment of about $295,000 to grants, which will result in $689,000 of a balance projected for the end of the year. More specifically, on page 23, you have the appropriated budget right here. Our biggest drivers of these changes right now, if I take you down to pupil transportation in the 500 objects, our out-of-district transportation costs have increased due to lack of available drivers and additional student needs. We have some students right now that are necessitating single driver transportation, single vehicle transportation, and that is challenging financially. The other piece of that is out-of-district tuition and services have increased due to student need. We are in the process right now of placement for 2 students right now that are having a difficult time being served within the district at this moment. So that right now will project with the changes that we had to the grants account, the appropriated balance is looking to be about $5,261 projected for the end of the year. Obviously, those estimated adjustments will ebb and flow over the course of the next few months as we move towards that, and we will hopefully grow that number towards the end of the school year. Under our non-lapsing fund, you know that at the end of this budget, we've talked about this last month, we are looking at that budget being expended for the end of the school year. Medicaid reimbursement is right now just holding, in terms of that, will be completely used for the end of the school year. The next sheet I'm going to ask you to go to is sheet 26, page 26. The biggest piece that I would like you to pay attention to on that would be line 682. That is our 660 fund that we always refer to it as. What you will see under the estimated adjustment is that Nancy had to make a $150,000 adjustment to that line to offset the special education out of district and transportation costs.
So that 60 is now 483.
That is what it will be projected, should all of those fees come to fruition for the end of the school year.
I will replenish that if it's not needed, certainly.
Okay.
And last but not least, our food services budget right now, we are projecting at the end of the school year a balance of $3,986. And as you know, that account should run close to level. It should not be a profit-making account. Any questions that Nancy and I could answer for you?
Melanie, we paid Gilbert throughout the course of the year,
We do on a monthly basis.
monthly. Okay. The $4,800 left over, wouldn't it have to be zero?
Let me see where you're at.
Okay. Projected year-end balance,
Which page are you on?
page 23.
Say that.
The tuition payment that came in for that student that was temporarily attending, but not living in town yet.
Okay, so that is a tuition payment that we received for a student.
Okay.
That is what that is.
And
Thank you for
part of
clarifying.
that's being reimbursed back because she got to town sooner than she had originally thought.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mel.
You're welcome.
Okay, item 10, correspondence to the board.
Yes, we have two letters of resignation at this moment. We have a paraprofessional who resigned, no notice, and we have a cafeteria worker who has offered her 2 weeks to us. So I ask that we please accept those with regret.
Make a motion to, or we'd like to accept with regret. We don't make motions on that. But we would like to accept with regret. Okay, thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome.
Presentations, item 11, none. Okay, item 12, new business. New hires.
We have hired for Hinsdale a music teacher. You know that ours had resigned back in March, so we are hiring Elizabeth Reyes as a music teacher for Hinsdale. And we have had a long-term library media substitute at the Pearson School. We have found a gentleman, Brandon Eckert, who will be joining us from Litchfield, and he is coming in as our library media specialist for next year. We're excited for that.
Fantastic.
And those are our two hires.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Item B, healthy food certification.
Nancy, would you like to address healthy food certification?
Glad to do it. So this is something that we have to do every year,
Nancy.
so we qualify for
Nancy.
the National School Lunch
Can you
Program.
go up to Elizabeth's microphone?
Get the one with the tape, yeah, here, you did a good job.
Move it up for you, there you go.
Okay, great. So we have to do this every year because it's required. Closer, okay. We have to do this every year because it's required so we can partake of the National School Lunch Program benefit. We're a community eligibility provision district, so that's very important that we're able to participate in that because it's what keeps our food service program in the black. There are two motions here that I would request the board to make. The first one is that we will abide by the rules of the healthy food certification, but it will need to be read as it is exactly worded into the minutes, please.
Okay. All right, so it's page 33. All right. So I'll make a motion for the language for the healthy food option pursuant to CGS Section 10-215F. The Winchester Board of Education certifies that all food items are offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education, will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, excuse me, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups. Make a motion to accept that. Anybody have a second? Jonathan? All in favor? That's unanimous, Barb?
So this, that's okay, it's good for my knees. So the second motion is for healthy food certification for beverages and food. And what it says is that you will only, in essence, not go by the healthy food standards if it is an event that is after school hours, that it does not have anything to do with the regular school day or the students. I mean, it can have to do with the students, of course, but it's a different event.
Okay.
So, and again, it needs the specific language.
All right, I'll read it out. The Winchester Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is a period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held. I'll take a motion to accept the language as read.
I'll make a motion to accept the language as read.
Jeanette? Jonathan? All in favor? That's unanimous, Barb?
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay. Item C, discussion of boiler at Pearson School.
I want to be clear that that boiler absolutely hurt us at our last financial committee meeting and literally died the next morning. So I feel like it might have hurt us. So unfortunately, after our discussion, after our finance committee meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point, the next morning, Dave Cruden, our maintenance individual, contacted me to say that the boiler was no longer working. We called West State Mechanical to come out to take a look at it, and I met with him after he had reviewed the whole situation with the boiler, and he basically said that the inside components of the boiler, apparently there's multiple chambers inside of the boiler, and there are pipes inside of those chambers. The pipe chambers have cracked inside of the boiler, and the only way to repair that would be to literally bring these new chambers down the vent shaft of the building via crane, drop them down in. You would have to completely open up the internals of the boiler, replace those chambers with replacement chambers if we could find them, because apparently this boiler is 45 years old now, and as we know, the last time we needed parts, I needed to order them off of eBay. So the availability for this boiler in terms of part replacement, I think, has lived its life at this moment. So what I've done, Nancy and I have continued to be able to investigate the DAS grants around HVAC. We're in that process right now of investigating that. I have a meeting tomorrow with one of the Board of Selectmen who have some experience looking at boilers, and I'm gonna talk with him. And then next week, I have a meeting with a different company to provide a second opinion regarding the condition and state of the boiler. Our saving grace is right now that hopefully we will not have any other significantly cold weather. We are on a backup right now at Pearson. So should the heat need to kick on, we could use our split duct systems, which the air conditioning is newly connected to at Pearson, or our backup boiler works in a limited capacity. It's limping along. So we're okay for the foreseeable future right now. However, we will need to handle this situation probably within the next month, month and a half.
So the 660 fund, we don't have to use that right away then? We can wait for DAS to do its thing?
Well, we would need, what is probably going to, if I'm forecasting our boiler needing to be replaced, if that comes to fruition, what I would probably recommend, because the DAS Grant 3 has not come out yet, is to replace the boiler in full, and then typically DAS has a reimbursement process that you can do. We would then, post-installation, go for the reimbursement on the DAS. Because what I'm fearful of is if, let's just say, the new DAS grants don't come out till July 1, we apply, it's weeks before we come back and hear from them. We are really broaching that time frame of winter and fall when we would need to have a functional boiler system. So it would be my recommendation that we really consider potentially fronting it and then seeking reimbursement at that point.
And I just want to also remind everyone, I think we spoke at Finance Committee, but the DAS grants are only reimbursable. So it's not like we have the opportunity to have them give us the money and then go forward with the project. It's only a reimbursable grant.
And it's 70% too, right?
Our town reimbursement rate is 72% right now, which is a solid reimbursement rate for our town. That's a good rate.
So I'm sorry, would we use the 660 fund to pay up front and then get reimbursed?
That would be a board discussion that we would need to engage in.
Okay. Now or later?
I think when we get a solid ballpark figure of the potential cost implication, we will probably need to consider, obviously, Board of Ed, but Board of Selectmen involvement on that also,
So we're looking at maybe a May discussion?
potentially.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, but I think if we can at least get a ballpark figure of, we know we have one figure under our belt already. I'd like to get another to kind of just get a reasonable understanding if that first one is in line.
Okay. So hopefully a May discussion with some figures. Okay. Is there any questions on that? Talk about timing. Wow. You called it.
I guess a little bit of a question. We have to do the engineering. That's the first aspect of it, right? Yeah, that's the.
If we were to move forward independently prior to, so DAS is going to, as part of their reimbursement process, going to require engineering for this.
I remember.
Yeah, if we wouldn't do the engineering as part of this process, they would not consider us for reimbursement. So there will be some soft costs associated with the work.
That's right. Soft cost because of the engineering. Okay. Others? Okay. Moving on to item D, National Drone Competition Field Trip.
We are very proud of our students. We have 4 students that will be going to the National Drone Competition, 2 teams of 2. What I have before you tonight is from Rachel Manzer, our drone coach. She will be leading them going out of state for this drone competition. They're going to Tennessee, which is a middle school competition. They won't be competing against high schoolers like they did last year, so I think they have a really, really great chance of being able to perform very strongly there. So they are going to be going to Chattanooga, Tennessee. This will require flight and hotel stays for them. We have the financing all worked out for it. The cost per family, the family contribution is $400, and we've ran that by all families, and all families are able to commit to that. We, as a board here, you contributed $3,000 through an approved process. The drone competition that we had at Pearson School had $1,000 worth of proceeds that we were going to put forward should any children move forward in the process. And our CHAMPS revenue fund, because it is a CHAMPS sponsored program, is putting up $4,500. We do have one parent that will be going with us because we have one male student that is going with us. So his dad will be coming and chaperoning. His dad will go through fingerprinting and clearance work for us. But since we needed to have a male chaperone with us, we've asked his dad to attend with us.
Mel, can you please just remind everybody what days of the week this is? This is in May.
Yes, off the top of my head, I want to
15
say it's
I didn't have my phone
Thursday
on me.
through Sunday or Thursday through Saturday, but let me just double check.
So, a couple days of school, but still working and learning.
Absolutely. So they're leaving Wednesday, May 15th. They will be competing on the 16th and the 17th, so Thursday and Friday, and they will be returning on the 18th, which is a Saturday. It's an invaluable experience from every aspect, instructionally, socially, competitiveness, teamwork. There's just a whole myriad of skills and experiences these kiddos are going to have the pleasure of getting. So I'm asking for the board's consideration, please.
I'd like to make a motion to support the field trip, the overnight.
I'll second.
Laura and Jeanette. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, 7-0. Congratulations, everyone, and good luck.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
I think that's fantastic. Great planning. Okay, item E, revisions to the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget. Yep.
As you are aware, we had a discussion, Greg Sugaru and I, with our town manager, Bob Geiger, about a week ago now. During that discussion, he had informed us of a $400,000 potential budget cut to the Board of Education, proposed budget that you had all approved. Subsequent to that meeting, Nora, myself, Greg, and Holly from the Gilbert School had met and discussed that situation. I want to cover the potential cuts tonight with you, but since the meeting with Greg and Holly and Nora, I went back to our town manager and said, can we consider a $300,000 cut that would be potentially less harmful to the district? Mr. Geiger has agreed for tomorrow night to put $300,000 on the table for our potential cut. So for the exercise tonight, I am going to assume that that is what would be put forward tomorrow night, which is a $300,000 educational cut. I wish it was $300.
Hey, right now.
Yes. So what I've put together tonight for you, and you should all have it at your desk seat for you, is a list of items. Last week, Nancy and I went through an exercise that included us looking at our current encumbrances, our current expenditures, what we are projecting for end-of-year results. Based upon that, we looked at what we were projecting for next year and looked to see if we felt that we could safely reduce lines. We started with lines that were 300 and higher in terms of object codes, so we started with non-personnel lines first. So I'm going to take you to start with line 300 first, and we'll come back to personnel at the end of the discussion. So what we are suggesting is a $7,000 cut to the legal line. We know that we've been running tight on legal. However, I think we can be even more stringent with our legal usage should it be necessitated. $1,000 cut to the district-wide technology contracted services. So currently we have a person that comes a few times a week from Ed Advance that works kind of on our back end infrastructure of technology. We were going to provide an extra $1,000 towards that position, but we are going to hold that position flat. We have returned $7,500 to the advertising line, and that is an advertising line for the hiring of our positions. Since the para contract has been increased. Our turnover of staff has really diminished because we are now competitively marketed in the realm of paras. That seems to be our largest area where we would see churn in the staffing. The other item that we have since done since our budget is we have moved to purchasing School Spring, which is an advertising entity for positions. That School Spring account is $900 for the year. What we found out is by utilizing School Spring, they subsequently post all of your postings out to Indeed, and you're not having to pay Indeed also. So we are pulling that line back to substitute just the $900 for School Spring, which will also post on Indeed, which is our primary posting area. So we're gonna pull back $7,500 out of that. We are anticipating the return of one out-of-district student right now at the potential savings of around $28,000. We cut the nurses' consumables line by $500. Our non-instructional supplies, so our office supplies line, we pulled that back by $4,000. Our instructional supplies line was pulled back by $7,226. We had originally asked for a $2,000 increase in IT equipment in the budget, so we pulled that increase back and held that flat. We also cut out our janitorial manager software, so this was managing our work orders, it was managing cleanliness within the buildings. However, we have moved since this discussion to really putting in a Google Forms janitorial process of monitoring this situation, so we feel comfortable letting the software go at this moment. So that takes up all of our 300 to 700 object code changes. Does anyone have any questions on those particular changes?
I just hope that things maintain the status quo for items like IT equipment during the course of the year, and the consumables, the instructional supplies, and this is shaving quite close.
It is absolutely shaving it very close.
Is the instructional supplies gonna put any more demand on like the families? Like, you know how sometimes they send that school list?
So we've tried to reduce the amount of parent supplies that we ask for from families. So my hope is that with the supplies that we have left over from this year, if we do have, we will roll those supplies obviously into next school year and still continue to limit the amount of supplies that we're expecting from families.
I just didn't know if this cut would affect that at all.
No. So that leads me to the staffing changes that we're potentially seeing. So what we have currently is an interventionist position that we have not filled the position. It was vacated about a month ago by a staff member. So we are proposing to not refill that position. And that would be a savings of $25,530. Currently, we have 4 behavior technicians in the district. We would be going to 3 behavior technicians, and this would be a cut within the district of $31,175. We have not approved our non-unionized, non-certified contracts yet for this upcoming school year. So those would be building subs, interventionists, behavior technicians, central office folks that are not on 3-year contracts. So we originally in the budget had $31,000 allocated for this line, where we were anticipating a 2.5% increase for those different subgroups. So what we have done is we've reduced that line by $18,000, and we are looking at building subs, which typically don't continue from year to year. It's typically a new person that comes in on a yearly basis, holding that position flat in their funding. We are looking at 1% increases across the behavior techs, the non-certified, non-union group for that, and we are looking at a 2% increase for payroll, accounts payable, IT and data, and any other central positions. That savings from those two changes would bring us $18,983. And then in the benefits section, we received, because we're part of the consortium here across multiple towns and educational entities, when we originally did the budget, they were looking at about an 11.6% increase in insurance benefits. We have recently received word that the increase will actually be 10.95%. So that savings on that was $10,658.
Melanie, how hard is it to find substitutes? Because if we keep that amount flat, is that competitive?
We do have a competitive sub daily rate at this point.
Okay. And behavioral tax, reducing it down to 3, how would that distribution be?
We'd have to talk more about that as an instructional leadership team. We would need to discuss and look at our data about where our resources need to be allocated.
And do we only have one interventionist for the whole?
No, that will still leave multiple interventionists at both school buildings. The other piece that to just be aware of, we wrote that high impact tutoring grant, which brought in Catapult Learning a few months back, and since January they have been in place supporting math intervention at the Pearson 6th grade level. So that is helping in that area. So what that does is that brings us to a total reduction of $150,000. I am making an assumption off of conversations that with approval from the Gilbert School Corp would potentially share in a 50-50. And I'm making that assumption in this based upon conversations. So should the Gilbert School Corp share 50-50 in this exercise, we would have met our requirement of $150,000. They would contribute $150,000, and we would meet the $300,000 reduction ask.
When are they meeting to discuss that?
The Gilbert School is meeting the week after vacation, so the week of the 22nd, which I believe they have a meeting on. They're usually on Wednesdays, so that'd be 22nd, 24th off the top of my head.
You're meeting with Greg and Melanie. What was, when you had these discussions, what was kind of what they were thinking? What was kind of...
I think we're trying to be really good neighbors to one another. Quite frankly, it was a very productive conversation. I think it was a shared conversation in the fact that both organizations, nobody wants to ever take a cut to education, but we also have to understand that we need to be good neighbors to all town departments also and share in the reductions. So I think everybody is coming from a place that we know that we have to give, and I'm hopeful that the Gilbert School Corp will continue in that same vein also.
Greg and Holly,
Mel, if we accept the reductions of staff, are we looking at also a reduction of their insurance costs to us, or is our insurance, our medical insurance, wrapped with the town? So would, like, our portion, so say a typical family contribution would be $30,000 or $35,000 for the district, and then the employee pays a small portion of that.
Yes. So right now, the way that Nancy has always done our health insurance premiums, knowing that every June when enrollment happens, we know that we have some families that have grown, we know that we have people that have left. So that bucket kind of really ebbs and flows throughout the year based upon enrollment there. So our health insurance premium reserve that we took out, which was that $10,000, we really didn't take it off of the behavior tech. So the young lady that was in the interventionist position was not a health insurance person. However, the behavior tech is, but because that bucket kind of ebbs and flows at such a small amount, we did not put that reduction in there.
it's hard to kind of budget for it also, because then sometimes you have someone that is newly employed, or
And
they
they
have
come
a
in with a
change of position.
Family
or-
plan
Correct.
versus someone going out
Correct.
with only a single.
Just curious, thank you for clarifying.
Yes,
for
so that is what we
transparency.
did.
I'd just like to thank Melanie for the work that you've done with Greg and with Bob, and I know it's a work in progress. You know, the Board of Selectmen are meeting tomorrow night to examine the Board of Ed piece of it all. And it's an ebb and flow. It's definitely a process, and I think that parent involvement is critical in this. Information given to them, and having them become informed about where our needs are and what our budget drivers are is very important for support for the budget as a whole in the community. We have about, well, over 1,000 kids, so we've got nearly 1,000 families, and I think that the more knowledgeable they are, the more likely they would be to participate in the vote when it comes into the referendum.
Nora, would you like me to share, Barb and Nancy captured thoughts from families and from participants that were at the parent-staff meeting. Would you like me to share any of those commentary?
Please.
One, I just want to say publicly thank you to all the parents and staff that did come out last night to hear us talk about potential cuts. I think it was super powerful. We had about 60 families in attendance last night, which was wonderful. I'm not going to share who made them. I'm just going to share what the comments were. But one participant commented about how important it is to have a presence at the Board of Selectmen meetings and to make your voice heard. Another one commented that if you can't make meetings in person, please feel free to email the Board of Selectmen. A student got up and spoke eloquently about drama and arts and how it will affect her and kids her age, and how much she loves the arts and wants these experiences to be supported in the budget. We had a Board of Selectmen member, thank you so much for a couple of them attending last night, that had talked about the fact that just to keep our budget where it currently sits right now, it's about a 2 mil increase, talked about the decrease in the grand list, the change with new town managers, the fact that there are 4 new Board of Selectmen members, and really creating a budget that will be supported by the town overall. Also spoke to, the new police contract that's coming forward, water and sewer, and some issues that are there, and the cuts that the town has made to different positions, specifically town planner, economic development coordinator. So we had heard those. We had another comment about taxpayers moving out if we don't support education, and a good education will bring people in. And when this person had moved into town, they support the budget going forward. Home values will go down if schools are not supported. Kids won't stay in town when they become adults because they want to be in a town that is supporting raising their own children in the future. We had a board member that had commented about needs versus wants and investing in the future of our town and getting out and talking to neighbors and sharing in the responsibility of getting this budget to pass. And I think Greg really talked about voter apathy and making sure that you're just not resting, that you're actually going out and having your voice heard through a vote. Whether you agree or disagree, it's so critically important to be able to have your voice heard. And I ended that commentary by saying how critically important that the Board of Ed will be good neighbors to all departments in the town, and that this isn't just about the Board of Education, that it is about making sure that our town is functional as a whole, and that we know that we all have to contribute to making sure that we are functional. So those kind of captured the generalized comments that were said last night.
Thank you, everyone, for that time and energy spent in all of that information. I mean, one of the things we talked about is getting parents involved, making sure parents are informed, and this is the process. And it's an ongoing process, so it's very important. I like the message. It does, if you will, take a village, that we all have to contribute to our bits. Okay, thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome.
So this proposal, you would need a motion from us?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are there any further questions about the proposal?
So it's just sending it to the Gilbert Core pending approval. So I would be supportive of sending the request of 150,000 just to see what the Core approves of, as I am on the Core and feeling out the situation with everyone else, because I am for these responsible cuts, just to make sure.
So we would assume that Gilbert would take a $150,000 cut, making it a $300,000 cut in total. Because we received the line item from them. Okay, so it's making that assumption that they would.
The one thing that the board may want to consider in the motion is that this draft of proposed cuts be pending the result of the Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow night, or when they determine, because I think there's some movement in that potentially.
I think that's fair. Okay, so I'll take a motion to accept Melanie's adjusted draft budget cuts as of April 9th, 2024, pending the results of the Board of Selectmen meeting.
So real quick, pending the outcome of the Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow night, or possibly, I know it's tomorrow, and then I think it's the 15th as well.
Yeah, there could be potential special meetings should they not come to a resolution tomorrow night. My understanding is they could have other meetings going forward.
So then, when would we revisit this then, or is it just basically
So-
in their hands at that point?
Your motion that you're proposing right now would
just
be
based on the
pending.
outcome.
Yeah, so pending, if tomorrow night, the Board of Selectmen vote and reduce the education budget by $300,000, the way that you've worded your motion would mean that this would go into effect and we would publish that. If tomorrow night they have a different number, you know, let's say they don't cut education in any capacity, or they cut it by $500,000, we would need to readdress this. That's why I think that language of pending is critical.
And we would address it just at the next meeting.
We would more than likely have to have a special meeting because
I
of.
think that's what he was asking. like,
Yes,
if we would have a
we
special
would
meeting.
have to have a special meeting because we would need to comply with the timelines associated with the Board of Selectmen to have a finalized budget number.
Yeah, I mean, I would back that if, you know, I motion to, under those circumstances, I would accept this.
Pending the Board of Selectmen.
For sure.
Keeps at that number at 300,000.
And if we have to, you know, we'll say that, yeah, that's fair.
Pending their results at that time. Okay? Does that make sense, Barb? Okay. Any other further discussion? All right, so I made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Shane? All in favor? Okay, so that's unanimous. That's 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Melanie. Thanks, everyone, for that work. Okay, policies. Item F. These are policies that are going to the first read. Non-discrimination. Page number on that?
38.
38, okay. There are quite a few. Okay. I had a question on page 38, before we go further. The item was scratched out was Boy Scouts. I thought by law we had to include them.
I will make sure that that line is taken out.
So it would include Boy Scouts.
It has to include Boy
That's what I
Scouts.
thought. Okay. Okay. So this is a motion to move to the second read, which would be another Board of Ed meeting in May. We also motioned to move to final in the past,
You have.
which is an option. we have in the past, if there's no further discussion, moved policies from first read to adoption, if we're ready for that as a board.
And this is largely a legal policy mandated by legislation and statute, so there's very little in this policy that could be altered.
So we're up for discussion on that.
Fine with going to final. I mean, these things, she's right, there's.
Fine with final. Okay.
Ironclad.
Okay. So I'll take a motion, so that's Beth motioning that this moves to final adoption, which needs to be seconded.
Awesome.
Okay, Jonathan? Just so you know, parliamentary procedure, this would be, if you will, most destructive. You can say no to this, and then it would go to then we make another motion to move it just to second read. So you don't have to go to the express. But, okay, so that, to move it to adoption, we have one motion, Beth, seconded by Jonathan, for non-discrimination policy number 1. All in favor? That is unanimous. That is the final policy. It's in adoption. Okay. Policy number 2 on volunteers. Starting on page
45.
45.
Oh, hold on, I apologize, no, it's not 45.
54.
$54.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the policy on volunteers for final adoption?
I'll make a motion to accept it for final adoption.
I'll say.
Jeanette and Jonathan? This is for volunteers. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. Policy number 3, sexual offenders. Page 59. Do I have a motion to move this to final adoption?
So moved.
Jonathan?
I'll second.
Jeanette? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Policy number 5, Code of Conduct, Federal Procurement. Four was budget procedures line item.
This is different, right?
This is Code of Conduct. What page is Code of Conduct?
62.
Page 62, Code of Conduct. Okay. Do you have a motion to take that to final?
Make a motion.
Okay. Shane? Beth? All in favor? Unanimous? Policy 6, disposal of obsolete or surplus equipment or materials.
I'll make a motion to move the disposal of obsolete or surplus equipment materials to adoption.
That's Jeanette, that's page 65.
Second.
Shane? All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay. Policy number 7, gifts, grants, bequests to the district. Page 67. Have a motion to move that to first read.
I make a motion.
Shane? Any second? Jonathan? All in favor? We're moving that to final?
Did we say move that to adopt
Yeah,
or
I
move
think-
that to
yeah,
first
you
read?
did
I'm sorry, adopt.
Yeah.
Shane, okay with that? Adopt? And Jonathan, yep, adoption. Sorry. All in favor of adoption? Okay, unanimous? IDEA fiscal compliance, policy number 8. Page 69.
I'll make a motion to move the policy on individuals with disabilities education act fiscal compliance to adoption.
Hold on.
Is it possible to move that to the next committee meeting so that we get a chance to give us
Cassandra, this one here, did you review?
I just wanna make sure it's just compliance with the IDA.
We can.
Okay, so-
We would have to, they have to make a motion to do that.
Right,
Okay,
so,
I'll withdraw my motion.
okay, but Jeanette withdraws her motion. Okay. This is policy number 8, IDEA fiscal compliance. So I have a motion to return this policy to policy committee. Jonathan?
I'll second.
Beth? Okay, all in favor of returning this to policy committee? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, and that's it for our policies to return. Let me just take a note.
Thank you to Melanie for her hard work on all this. There's a lot of policies to
You're
go
very
through.
welcome.
Yes, and to everyone who helped with that.
Moving on to series 4,000, huh? Okay. Okay, item number 13 is public comment. Policy 1120, regulations for public participation at board education meetings. The Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 opportunities set aside to hear comments from the public. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Ed. We appreciate your adherence to the following. 1, complete request information on the sign-in sheet over here if you wish to speak, your name, your address, and your email. State your name and address when called upon to speak. You will be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that it's not the practice of the Board of Ed to engage in dialogue regarding any commentary. The superintendent will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Is there anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Third time, anybody wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, that is public comment, and I'll take a motion to adjourn at 8:13.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Shane and Jeanette, thank you, everyone, and all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, 7-0, 8:13. Thank you, everyone. A lot of business, a lot of work.